So here we are again. I promised you 2 episodes of Sit Down With this week, and the second one was none other than the man known as Hustle Malone. Right guys, welcome back to Outside the Ropes with Luke Basham, and I'm looking forward to this one. Tonight's guest sitting with me today is Hustle Malone. How are you, Huss?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. So, I'm going to get straight to it. Where did it all begin? Talk me through it. Where did you all start this? Where did you become mad about wrestling?
Well, it came as a fan, as we all mostly started as. I used to watch Steve Austin. The first thing I remember is Steve Austin walking around trying to find out who hit him with a car.
Oh, okay.
And I just remember like how badass this guy was. And there was like badass people in my life, like my dad and my uncle and stuff. And this guy used to, it may have been the fact that like my whole family is like bald as well. But I used to look at how badass this guy was. Like, this guy is the only guy in the world who gets to beat up his boss when the day is bad. Like, we all secretly kind of want that. So it started there. Then, I never really thought this was something that I could do. I never really, because I'm not 8 foot tall and live in America. That was the mentality I had anyway.
Yeah.
If you're not 30 stone and built like a house, then what's the point? And then so my passion was videography. I did all sorts of stuff filming like rappers, singers, dancers, adverts for companies. I did little bits with SBTV, every channel and network and all that kind of stuff. I edited like part of one episode of Come Dine With Me.
No way.
My super niche. Yeah, so I was doing that, and then I got tagged in a Facebook status by a wrestler who said, "Hey, I just want somebody to come and film our local shows." They just wanted like one roaming cam, one hard cam, so they could sell DVDs. And I went along, and like I loved it. I was losing my mind. I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe, wrestling paid for my drinks tonight. Like, this is so wild." Like, and one of the wrestlers, I was just chatting to him about like training and exercise and stuff. And he was like, "Why don't you just come to training?" And I was like, and I didn't have a fucking excuse. So myself and Chase Williams, he was my best friend. We went along, and just with the idea of like, go on, we'll give it a go. You do a salsa class. It doesn't mean you're going to become a salsa champion.
Yeah.
So we went along, and there were some things that we picked up straight away. He had done parkour in the past, so he picked up all the flippy stuff automatically. I had done public speaking and acting and stuff before, so I picked up the character work. So we were like, we might as well keep going. Time kept going, and in my head, I said, I only really want one match so I could take a photo and like show my grandkids that granddad was a badass. And then like I got that first match, and then it was like, well, it would be kind of cool to win a belt, right? Like just to have one photo with the belt. And then I did that, and it was like, by that point, it was like, right, well, now my eyes are on that belt, and now my eyes are on that, and now I want to go and work overseas. And I think it's wrestling's biggest plus and wrestling's biggest negative that it keeps going, and it just doesn't. And a show finishes, like this as a promoter, a show finishes, and it's like, boop, countdown, 30 days till the next show. There's no stop, except now, where everybody stopped. But
oh, mate, that's what I was actually saying it the other day, like, I've been in this business now about, when I say in the business, so I started training about 5 years ago. Became a promoter about 2 years in, about just over 3 years ago now. And I think that's the last time that I've actually sat, like till now, where I've actually been calm, haven't had to think about wrestling at all or promoting a show. This has actually been quite a nice break. But I am kind of missing it now. But you talked about overseas there. Have you been overseas? Have you wrestled overseas?
I have. I wrestled for Rising Sun in Italy. I know you're frequent to Italy as well.
Yeah.
Beautiful country, beautiful culture. The fans are so, oh man, like
Passionate, man.
I did the brain maker, which is that move where I ripcord, headbutt, pull in, DDT, and I'd only been doing it a couple of months, and I did it there. At a minute, I don't think anybody else does it, which is good. Don't fucking touch it, anybody. but I remember I did it, and as I hit the mat, I heard somebody go brainmaker, and I was like, "What?" And the fans were like around the ring, like slapping the ring, and I was like, "This place is a hotbed." Yeah, and it's all stuff that you when you see some people start training and they're like, "I want to be world champion and I want to go to WWE and stuff." Mine was like increments at a time.
Yeah. The crowd in it. Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I did not expect when I went over there to see the level of talent for one that's over there. It's stupidly good with some of the guys we saw, and how hot the crowd were, man. It was like, I remember the second time we went, and I was just like, look, I've seen this spot. It was done in America. I think this crowd might eat it up. Involves the referee giving me a Rana and everything like that. So literally, I could imagine some of the hardcore wrestlers like fucking hating it for starters. But like literally, the ref comes off. I start pushing him. He pushes me back. I throw an arm. Ends up Ranaing me out the ring. The crowd absolutely lose their shit, and they're up on the ring and everything. I was like, what the? But man, I mean, I'm looking forward when I'm back, hopefully, to going back over there. I think the guys at ICW, and I've met Fabio, who's absolutely just nuts himself, is in the sense that he loves the wrestling. So, like, the one thing I've always, when I first started, I remember like sitting there thinking, like, promos for like British wrestlers like really struggled. And then Simon come up to me and he goes, dude, like, you need to check this guy out. Like, look at this promo. And I saw this promo, and he was on the sidewalk of a road somewhere, and he was just spewing this stuff. And I thought, fuck, okay, this guy can talk. I believe, and there's some good guys now coming in. I still believe you are probably the most creative, probably the best talker in the indie scene at the moment. I think anyone comes close to touching you. So you just said like you've had acting background and things like arts and things like that. Is that where all this sort of begins, or?
I kind of credit it to two places. So I worked for a little while as a motivational speaker. That's kind of where the beginnings of the gimmick came from. And again, I grew up as not a confident person, really shy. And it was only from reading books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, other books like What Every Body is Saying, book about body language and stance, and looking at coaches and people like that online, people like Eric Thomas, Gary Vaynerchuk. My confidence is completely artificially built. So when people go, oh, I'm just not that kind of person, in my head, it doesn't really clock with me because I was the shyest of the shy, the quietest of the quiet. And I learned it the same way you learn to fix a car or cook a meal, just straight up from books, learning that stuff. The other places, in terms of promos, I'm a massive fan of UK battle rap. So there's companies in the UK, places like Don't Flop, and they'll do two guys, 3 rounds each of 90 seconds. And then you would see how some guys are punchline rappers, some guys are flow rappers, some guys do their research like hell. Some people are like, some guys will come out with like gun bars and stuff, but then other guys will be like, I spoke to your ex, and then like that will like kill the game, right? Every one of my promos in my head, I know, right, this one will be very editing focused. This one will be about verbalage focused. And again, promos isn't something that's like, well, you're either good or you're not. And I know a lot of guys, like when it comes to tech, people are like, oh, well, I'm going to go to more training. I'm going to train more, and I'm going to practice with that guy over there who's great at tech, and I'm going to get great at that. But with promos, some people just think, I'll just get better at the ring, and then people won't care about the promos. But you can learn them in the exact same way you learn about anything else. So, yeah, I watch battle rap, or I'll play with word schemes, or Yeah, my favorite one is I did a promo about RJ Singh, and that's the easiest way I can explain the process. Like I wrote down RJ Singh, and everyone caught like his catchphrase is "Sing is king." So I was like, right, Sing is king. King is my key word. Right, King of the North, King Slayer. Uh, what's the name? What's the name of the guy? Stephen King. Stephen King, the author. Stephen King. Words related to king. Now we've got throne, we've got scepter, we've got crown, we've got jewels. You know, what kind of things do you associate with kings? Royalty, okay, castle, prestige, butler, and then now this point, when you could go, I'm gonna beat you on the 9th, you could go, I'm gonna take you apart like the throne in Game of Thrones, or like, you know, I'm gonna murder you like Stephen King, and then you've got a process. So yeah, I appreciate the kind words. It is something anybody is capable of learning, anyone's capable of doing.
So, I mean, carry on with your creative side. I mean, the one thing I've noticed, like, especially over the, I would say I've known you about 3 years probably now since you've joined SWA, and I've watched how you always look to adapt your character. Like, I think you put up a thing the other day, like where like the different faces that your characters had, which I thought was just awesome. Is that something you're always looking to do? Is change and adapt, or are you looking for something to just stick with?
Yeah, changing adapt for sure. I mean, there's no coincidence that all the top guys in WWE, Undertaker, CM Punk, I think the only exception would be like John Cena. But like even then he changed a lot at the beginning, and then after that it was just like shirt colors and stuff. But The Rock changed, you know, it became Hollywood Rock. You've got Hollywood Hogan. All of these people changed because so it's no secret. One of my favorite wrestlers is CM Punk. And the stat that blew my mind was I found out that, you know, when he cut the pipe bomb promo,
Yeah,
then his pay-per-view record for the year and a half before that, up until that moment, was 1-16. He'd won one pay-per-view match in a year and a half up until that moment, and then became the hottest thing in the whole industry. That told me that if you have the power to turn it on, and anybody can turn it on, you can just have one great match or one great angle or one great moment. If you've got the power to turn it on, wins and losses don't matter. But it's up to you to steal that spotlight. It's very easy to steal the spotlight. You know, if I book you in the main event on Saturday night to go 60 minutes with Damianthon, and it's for the title, and there's 20 run-ins, and it's in a cage, and like I stack all of that stuff on, it's very easy for you to steal that, to win the night, you know.
yeah.
If anyone won the night, Luke Basham won that night. How about winning it on a Tuesday night when there's no wrestling?
Yeah.
Or Wednesday, or a Tuesday morning when there's definitely no wrestling? You know, by changing up your character, by posting stuff online, by creating original content, you can steal the spotlight. You know, you can have that Saturday night if you want, but I'm gonna have every morning, every afternoon, and every other evening besides that one that you're built for. You know.
So, like, obviously one of my favorites was when you came in was the Purge mask and thing like that. Obviously, after a while, we started to see this numerous times. Now, I'm pretty sure, and I'm adamant that you were actually the first guy to do it. What were your feelings when you were seeing so many of these people?
So I've checked everybody else who's done it since, and I've checked my first photo of it on Instagram, and I was guaranteed the first one. I was the first one. I don't mind other people stealing it because I knew that any look that I have is going to change at some point. I knew at some point I'm going to adapt and change. I like to do it in a big angle or with a big purpose or anything like that. I kind of rushed it or rush jobbed this current incarnation because everybody was jumping on it. I got a message from a kid the other day. So there's a company in Milton Keynes that I used to wrestle at. I used to be on the writing team, right? I used to help out when I was a trainee there. It was formerly the Hope Academy. And this kid messaged me and he was like, hey, I'm going to wear a blue light up mask 20 minutes from your house. Is this okay? I hope you don't mind. And I was like, mate, I don't mind, but I came up with the name of the company that you wrestle for. you're only ever going to be seen as a fake version of me. You can do what you want. I will keep creating. I will keep making. And if I'm making a promo a week and cool artistic pieces, and I'm doing, teaching myself portrait photography so I can take my own cool pictures out there instead of waiting for another professional, people are going to, which one is more likely to have come up with this first? The person who's creating something, or the person who's just been like, yep, my name's Jim. I'm going to wear all my normal gear, but I've also got a mask from Wish. I don't mind. And even
it's probably the reason they're actually behind you, because it took them 9 months to get the mask. You know what I mean?
Delivery was late.
Man, like
the thing is that the mask and the look and stuff I've got now, I don't doubt someone will try and steal that. I'm actually, but the thing is I'm always thinking about the next thing. So even the mask I've got now, I probably won't have this by the end of lockdown, if lockdown goes on as long as I think it's going to go. I'm currently getting another mask being like created from scratch now. I don't doubt that people are going to get a coat that looks like mine. I don't doubt that people are going to cut promos similarly to me. I've already seen them. I've already seen people try. I don't mind. I would get bored doing the same thing for like 10 years. So you can copy if you want. I'll be on to the next thing by that point.
I mean, you do see it a lot. I mean, like, obviously I've run a training school now, and I've like the guys coming through, and the first thing, you get some guys, they step through the door, they've been in 2 weeks, and they're like, oh, I've got a gimmick. And I'm like, man, first let's just concentrate on the training and things like that. It's a good idea. I'm glad you're thinking about these things, and then literally they're 5-6 months in, and like, I've got this really good gimmick. I'm like, okay, talk to me. And I say, oh, I've got a pirate. I'm like, are you looking at the indie scene? Like, this is the thing. Like, you've got, I've started doing this warrior gimmick thing. I'm not officially saying it's a proper gimmick, because I don't really think it is. I think the one thing like is hard in this industry, especially with so much being done, is finding a gimmick. But I'm rolling with it. I've done a new T-shirt thing that I've released and things. See how that goes. But it's like, I know for a fact what I'm doing is different to other guys. And this is the thing, like, when people, they don't look up and down the country at the amount of stuff that actually is being delivered. I mean, it's like you said, like, I think you're one of the most creative guys. I think Crowley's one of the next up and coming guys, which I'm loving. Like, obviously the new promo you've just done on him. Are you building towards something like Sacrifice there, or?
Yeah, I kind of beat up his best friend on the last show before lockdown, and it was to lead into what we got. But now, like, if there's anyone to have a promo feud against during an extended period of no shows, it's someone who can also do a promo back to you. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I think like people like they struggle in not looking up properly, and like that's what I love about like yourself. Like, you're not looking at what someone else is doing. You're just making this shit up off the top of your head, and you're thinking about it, and you're bringing some really good things to the light. That being said, like, you've had some matches against some big names as well. Like, I did my research. I've been trying to be a good host. I've been trying to do my research, and like, I've Cara Noir, Kip Sabian, Kirby. One of my favorite guys that I love, and he obviously comes to SWA with you as well, is Warren Banks. Like, you've just done a storyline with him. Are you still doing a storyline with him, or?
Yeah, our next match back when we come back is a 2 out of 3 falls for the Hope title.
Oh, nice. What are some of your favourite matches that you've been a part of? I won't ask you your favourite unless you know what it is, but
I love anything where I can tell a real story. And don't get me wrong, going out there and having a blinding 5-star match, I think sometimes having the story is the difference between the 4 and the 5th star. I love the stuff that I did with Cara Noir because it was so, like, it came with gravity. Because it's not just working Cara Noir because he's fantastic and easily the best thing this country has. But so the gravity of it was, I was the Hope champion. He was the LCW champion. Hope had bought LCW and we were having a unification match. We had the match, which ended in a DQ and a big roster pull apart brawl. So we had the rematch, which was no disqualifications, no count outs, the unification of 2 companies. and 2 top championships. You don't get much bigger than that. That's pretty massive.
Yeah.
That was a massive learning curve for me, because Kara really does throw out the rule book. So our whole story was built around me kicking him in the dick. And every cut-off, we did like 4 or 5 cut-offs. It was just like, he would build a little bit of momentum back, and I'd just kick him in the dick. And then on his comeback, he kicked me in the dick 4 times. And it was like I did a seminar with Chris Brooks just before he went back to Japan. And he said, if there's one thing I could give you guys, it's stop thinking you have to be limited to wrestling, because wrestling is like almost boring. It's so linear. Like, he said he's just been to a show in Japan where they did a whole show but based it off the anime Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
Did that, but as a wrestling show. No one in the UK besides like his promotion would dare to do that in this country. I think it can be wider than that and larger than that. And sometimes we do get our wrestler heads on too much and be like, well, what about the shine? Or like, what about, we haven't done an international? Like, it doesn't matter. Nothing really matters. There's a famous phrase, I can't remember who it's by. It can't be that famous. Where they say, no one remembers the things that you did or the things that you said. People only remember the ways that you made them feel. And I like storytelling like that, which really fucks with the way people feel, really pulls them up and down. And yeah.
Like with like APW, like the one thing I've tended to like be quite different in is in the sense of like, so we've got APW, we've got SWA. SWA is, we've always brought in the big indie names and things like that, give matches that we want to see. APW has always been more local talent with a few outsiders coming in, and we tell some really good storylines. I mean, Sanchez, you know Joey well. We did one where he actually cut himself and the blood was coming down his face. The reaction we got from that, I mean, we had loads of people halfway through the show saying, "Oh, I'm leaving, I'm not coming back," and I was like, as a promoter at the same time, I'm going, "Oh God!" but they're believing it at the same time. And I agree, man. Like, I think wrestling can be different. I think people need to look at it from a different standpoint at times, because they're all. You see many promotions, yourself, you've promoted, that are doing the same things that WWE recreated. I've done it myself in the past. Earlier you touched on championships that you've won. Hope. I'm gonna say, was you LCW champion?
I wasn't LCW. I've won the Hope title. I've been the MBWA champion, the Ultimate Sacrifice champion. I've won tag titles in places, hardcore titles, all sorts of stuff.
Which one meant the most to you?
I'm gonna choose the predictable answer and say it was probably the Hope title, because it was almost like the circumstances that kind of led to it. And even then, as I said, I used to be a videographer. I filmed like the first couple of original Hope shows when it was like Grado, Jack Jester, Chris Travis. When like the main event of the first show I did was the Hunter Brothers against Tyler Bate and Dan Maloney. And I remember turning around to Dale, the promoter, and I've been like, because I hadn't seen him for a few years, and he was like, "Yeah, this is my company." And I'm looking at the card, I'm like, what kind of wrestling company doesn't have a belt? What the hell? Like, is this some sort of like losers wrestler? What do you mean you don't have a belt? And then I saw that main event, and I was like, you don't need a belt. You're good. You're fine. You don't need nothing.
Have Hope still got the same belt? Because I remember when you had that belt, that was probably one of the nicest belts I've seen on the scene.
I like that it's not just like a circle or a square. It's like, it's the logo, isn't it? It's a beautiful belt.
So like, is there anyone on the indie scene at the moment that you haven't faced that you really want to get in there with?
I think it's a matter of time before he gets snatched away by this country. But so I'm desperate to before it. Do you know what? There's 2 names in my head, and they're both time limit dependent. The first one is I'm desperate to do it before he gets snatched away, and that's Chief Deputy Dunn. Damianthon is such a perfectionist in the ring, and he's he somehow excels in everything. And most wrestlers, you can look at them and be like, he's a character guy, he's a tech guy, he's a power guy. You know, even as little as like a character guy or a ring guy. Damianthon is, I could never bracket that. And he's so good and he elevates everything he does. There's a reason he's got that championship. Yeah, he's definitely one of them. And the other one's the guy you mentioned earlier on, Joey Sanchez. He is such a consummate professional, and he so represents, like, it's absolutely no mystery to me whatsoever why the two companies that you have are like built around him, because his ability to, like, even like in the 8-man tag we had just before we went away, he was such a grounding force. He knew what was important. He's able to, there's no ounce of ego in him either. So like if two sets of people are arguing over what they want into a match, he's the perfect guy to go to, because he can strip all that away, strip allegiances aside, and he knows what's good for the ring.
Yeah.
So yeah, those two for sure.
It's mad. I can't even believe that you of like, when I look at the list of names that you've actually been in the ring with, that Damien's, like, especially with him, like, he's got quite a bit of an affiliation with Hope, I believe. Like, that you haven't been in. Like, you know, we get Damien at SWA as number one, and I've tried to talk to him about doing his chief deputy done gimmick there, but he actually, because he does it everywhere else, like, he loves doing it. You know, the two names that we've got there are two names that we can arrange at SWA. So, you know, hopefully down the line. So tell me, what's like when this crazy world gets back on its feet, what's next for Hustle Malone?
I'm not so much even thinking about then. I'm thinking about now. So every promotion that I work for, I'm putting out a nice, great quality promo for every company. I know a lot of people see this as a vacation. Some people badly need the vacation. So, like, if you need the mental break away from wrestling, have it. Trust me, I've needed it at times too. But a lot of people are thinking that wrestling is just going to resume exactly where it left off before.
Exactly, yeah.
I think the fans are going to be able to know, the promoters are going to be able to know who didn't take the foot off the gas during this time off. And between the little things, like I said, about teaching myself photography, I've been playing with graphic design and teaching myself how to, like, animate characters and stuff, and making, like, comic book fan arts of the stories and the programs that I'm in. A promo on every promotion that I'm working for, as well as just other pieces of content that just keep things going. Yeah, my work, I can't think about work when I get back. I'm thinking about work now, because I've got a lot going on right now. If anything, so I stopped promoting at the end of last year so that I could focus on my wrestling career. And that was great, because I was able to get back into regular training, and I noticed, like, my ring work took, like, an extra step up, and I was just a bit quicker on reactions, and, like, and I loved it. And I loved that feeling. You probably know this, the feeling that every promoter has, where they feel like they have homework every day forever. And if you have a cup of coffee, in your head there's this little voice that's like, you could be putting a poster up right now. Have you posted on Twitter today? And you're like, yes, I have. And they're like, another one. Like, it never stops. It never goes away. And I thought I would be relieved to lose that feeling when I stopped promoting. But all I've done is replace that feeling. And instead of thinking about sacrifice, I just think about me. So when it was regular training, it was like, all right, how can I get some ring time with that guy? How can I practice this? Which class can I go to? Now it's, what can I do to train at home? Can I learn, you know, if I see a music video with a really cool effect, I'm like, that would be great for my promo. But now I've got to teach myself that first before I can do it. So I'll go and I'll do that extra step, and I'll spend hours on a tutorial and figure out what it takes for a small little thing that I can put in passing. But to me, we are the investment. So I'm investing like hell right now.
That's good, man. It's a great way to look at it. I think, like you said, touching on the promoting side of it, you know, you don't really, you know, I never wanted to be a promoter when I first started. You know, I always just wanted to concentrate on the wrestling. Now it's like kind of too hard to give up the promoting, especially like with APW being my baby and things like that. It's like, do I trust it going into someone else's hands for then maybe not to be as good or not to deliver? And like to walk away, I think like takes, well, not exactly walk away, but to step down from that lead role, I think takes a lot of guts. So I'm and I'm really happy for you that the fact that you're thinking about yourself now, and I really look forward to what you're going to bring after. And I thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate you taking your time to come on today.
Thank you very much, man. And can I just say, I don't think people understand how selfless being a promoter is. About how, like, some people just see maybe the glamorous side of things, and they just see like, oh, that guy gets to choose who's on the show, and he gets to choose what he wants, and he gets the money at the end of it. Like, you forget how much mental collateral it takes, how much space in your head it rents full time. And the other thing is, that feeling of like stepping away. Because I originally, so I've been a massive, I'm sorry to keep you a little bit.
No, go carry on, man. Carry on.
I am a massive advocate for mental health. And I had probably this time last year, I was going through a really bad time, and I posted a video into like the sacrifice group with like the core group, and I said, look, I'm struggling in a really big way. The staff at that point was like me and one guy, me and Chase, and I was like, look, I need some help, and if I can't get any help, then we'll just have to close shop, because that, you know what I mean? I can't let it kill me, right? I need to do something. I can't let this murder me. And everybody kind of jumped up, and from there we rebuilt the staff. We added Jack Cave and Alexander Hyde and Tim Lee, and we built this like really supportive team. And now that's only when I got in the position that I was able to trust and say, you know, okay, now I feel confident that it's in safe hands and I can step back from that. But you forget that if the promoter just turns around and says, I can't do this anymore, until you really know how much work it is and how much it really weighs on you, I don't think promoting will ever be really appreciated like that. Like if your favorite promoter turns around tomorrow and just goes, yeah, I'm not going to do it anymore. And everyone's like, what? But why? And it was like, well, if you knew why, then why? So yeah, for the amount of work that you put in for both APW and SWA and now Spotlight and Spotfest, sorry, and for the spotlight that you put on the guys there, like, from me anyway, thank you for all the hard work that you put in.
Mate, you don't have to thank me. I do. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I love being a promoter. I do love it. I do wish I could like probably concentrate on my wrestling sometimes, but again, I am surrounded with some good guys. I think both rosters that we have are really welcoming dressing rooms that we have. I love the fact that we haven't got egos and things like that. And obviously, guys like yourself, who I consider the locker room leaders, really do lead. And you're one of the first guys that always comes in. How are you doing? Are you okay? If you need anything, let me know. And that's what all you can ask for as a promoter. I don't think many people think because you're only doing like say one show every couple of months or one show a month, like people think you're off all the other 30 other days. It's like that's not the case. You are constantly thinking every day, and then there's stuff you like myself, like you, I do the graphics, I do all the editing of the shows, and it does take a toll at times. But at the same time, once you've seen that show materialize and it's happened, at the end of the night, you sit there and go, yeah, that was worth it. Believe it or not, I've sat there and I have missed a question. I've got it written down. Oh, you can't see it because my sign is blocking it out.
You're performing magic. What are you doing?
I have got down about mental health and the ABCD emoji that you released. I'm not saying you did it personally, but you actually released it for mental health purposes. Let's talk about that before you go. Like, I'm a guy myself who struggled with mental health. I'm not going to sit here and say to you I had depression because I've never gone to the doctors about it. But I know for a fact that, for a long time I struggled. within myself. You know, you've not made it it quiet that you have struggled with it yourself. You know, the Chris Brooks thing was. I remember sitting there going, "Oh shit, he's gonna call out Chris Brooks," and then I said, "I can't wait." And then you talked, and I was like, oh, "Okay, no, okay, this is hitting home a bit more." As an ambassador, what would your advice be to people that are suffering now?
So, for those who aren't aware of the method, there's an emoji. It's on every phone. It's on every social media. It's a little dark gray square, I think, dark blue gray square. This is ABCD. It's the least used emoji in the on emojitracker.net, which tracks it across all social medias and websites and stuff. The idea is, if you are struggling with your mental health and you don't want to openly post a tweet that just says, "Hey guys, I'm real sad, someone talk to me," or like, "Hey, talk to me specifically about my mental health," this is a way of posting, and just, it's a way of saying, my DMs are open, but I just want to feel normal. You know, if you message somebody and you say, "I'm feeling suicidal," it's on them to be like, "Well, shit, I got to deal with this now." Like, all right, cool. How do we deal with this? Right? You know, can I get you anything? You know what I mean? It almost becomes like you're giving somebody a responsibility. With this ABCD method, it's the idea that sometimes I struggle with mental health and I don't want to talk about it. Sometimes I want to talk about wrestling, or I want to talk about TV, or what you've been up to. Sometimes I just want to feel like a normal person. So the idea is in a Facebook status, in a tweet, hidden in the corner of your photo, putting this ABCD emoji to a signal to everybody else on your friends list to be like, "Hey, my DMs are open. Please help me feel like a normal person for a minute." Yeah, I feel like mental health is very much like, it's like a muscle. Some people are born with, you know, a big frame. Some people are born real thin. But at the end of the day, you can put in that work, and you might be working real hard against your genetics. You might be working real hard, but we can only do the best that we can, and to support the other people around us with how they're dealing with it. I have absolutely no shame in talking about my mental health, and I hope that people adopt this method, because we're only ever real. Mental health will never be like cracked, but the closest we're ever going to get is when people are all playing on the same side.
That's awesome, man. Right, so I'm going to lock it up. Guys, honestly, go online, support this guy. You know, no matter what you see of his character, how despising he looks, Hustle Malone will always be one of the nicest guys, nicest looking as well, nicest guys in British wrestling. Support him, love him, and thanks for joining me, Huss, and I'll see you soon.
Much appreciated.
Cheers, man. Hi guys, I know it's probably a hard time at the moment during COVID-19. Please remember to stay safe during this hard time, and please remember, if you could like and share, it would be much appreciated. Thank you.